That's right, Dropsy's not the only clown in town. This is Mr. Do on the Super Nintendo. While at a glance it looks a lot like Dig Dug, there are quite a few differences. For example, you can exit a level 3 different ways. You can defeat all the enemies like in Dig Dug, or you can get all the cherries, or you can get a diamond, and more about that later. So if you don't know Mr. Do or Dig Dug, let me explain the basics. It's a maze game a la Pac-Man, only you dig the maze. Since the enemies mostly travel along the path that you've dug, a little bit of foresight is necessary when you're choosing a path. You can also guide the enemies so that they can be squished by falling apples or, in Dig Dug, falling rocks. Now, as you can see here, I've uncovered a diamond, and that beats the level instantly and gives you a big bonus. Now, when I looked online, nobody seemed sure what causes them to appear, but on the Super Nintendo version, I actually had that happen quite a bit. In the arcade one, they're supposed to be quite rare. And honestly, it seems like trouble that there's an element that nobody knows how to reproduce that gives you such a significant bonus. I believe it actually might even be random. Another element in Mr. Do is that if you can touch the target in the middle of the maze, in this case the cake, the monsters will freeze and the alpha monsters will troop in from the top of the screen along with one with a letter. Now if you can bag all the ones with a letter, spelling out extra, E-X-T-R-A, you get an extra Mr. Do. Every 3 stages, it shows an intermission, which tells you how long it took to beat the level, the score you got, and the method you used to beat it. One thing I do really like about Mr. Do is that you have a ball weapon which bounces around the maze until it hits something. And it's really fun to use. I think this is a really cool element that they added to the Dig Dug formula. But I'm not sure if all the other bells and whistles really come together to make a better game than Dig Dug. It sure has a lot more going on, and a lot of sensory overload that Dig Dug lacks, but I'm not sure it's as focused a game design as Dig Dug. Though which one you prefer is completely up to taste. When I first discovered Mr. Do, I really liked it. I thought, wow, there's so much going on in this game, how could I ever go back to Dig Dug? But when I revisited it for this review, I gotta admit, I think I like Dig Dug a bit more. Dig Dug is just such a tight, focused design, where Mr. Do is an everything and the kitchen sink sort of game design. Though Phil the No Swear Gamer, who runs the 7800 Game by Game podcast, which you should check out, this is his favorite game of all time. I'm not really sure why. You should maybe ask him about it. The Super Nintendo edition of Mr. Do also has this battle mode, which is really cool. It's a 2-player simultaneous mode that was not in the arcades. And it also has some touched-up graphics. I'm not sure why you can't get the touched-up graphics in single-player mode, but at least they're included in the Versus mode. So that pretty much wraps up Mr. Do, a interesting take on the Dig Dug formula.